Welcome to Arkpoint, my name is Marcus, and today we're going to be covering groups and folders in Core. So first of all, what are they? Well, luckily it's in the name. Groups and folders are used to group together objects, and it also really helps with organizing the hierarchy. So for example, we have our project with quite a few cubes in here, and you can see it in the hierarchy. So we're going to right-click the hierarchy and press New Group. We're going to select a couple of these cubes. I'm multiple selecting by clicking and then holding Shift and clicking somewhere else in the hierarchy. Then I'm dropping and dragging it into the group, and now they are children of that group folder / folder. So now instead of moving these cubes one by one individually, I can select the group and then move that group and rotate that group however I want, and it will move all of those objects inside the group. Pretty simple, and the same happens for a folder. So we're going to right click, create a folder, and we're going to select a couple of these cubes, same thing, drop and drag, and now we can also move and rotate the folder. So since you can move, rotate, and scale them, it also comes with those properties inside the Properties tab, but it also comes with collision, visibility, and camera collision, and you can also add your own custom properties to groups and folders. So you might be wondering, groups and folders, they seem like they're practically the same thing, and you're fairly correct, except there is one key difference as to why you'll mostly be using groups and not so much folders. So what we're going to do here is we're going to rename this folder Cube Master, and then we're going to save the project. Now we're going to go to File, top left, Show Project in Explorer, and now you'll see this is the project. We're going to go Data, Scenes, Tree. Now you'll notice there's a folder here named Cube Master, which correlates to the one in our hierarchy. So yeah, when you create a folder in Core, it actually creates a folder in Windows Explorer. But you'll see there's not one named Group, because Group is only in Core. So if you used folders instead of groups everywhere in your project, then you would have a lot of folders. And I'm sure you've tried that thing where you go ahead and delete 10,000 empty folders, and it still takes forever. So you can probably imagine how much fun Core would have if it had 10,000 folders inside of it. Now, you might be using groups a lot of the time, but folders still have their use, especially with source control, where you can divvy up the entire project into different folders for your team members to work on, so that when you use the source control, it functions a lot more smoothly than if you didn't. Our friends at Gamertitan actually have a video about source control and setting up team collaboration, which I'll link in the description below. But for now, we'll move along to scaling groups. So normally, when you select an object, you can change the scale however you like. So for instance, I want to make it really long. It is now a longer cube. I want to make it really big. Voila, it's a really big cube. But for now, we're going to just make it a really long cube in this direction. So, yep, that all works fine. But when you try and scale a group, for instance, I'm going to try and input the number 5. It seems to have done something, but when you click off it, it'll come up with this alert. So a group can only be uniformly scaled. So you press OK, and it's scaled up. But it's scaled up on all of the axes, X, Y, and Z. But an interesting thing is, so that the scale of the group is 555 at the moment, we're going to take this cube out of it. So you'll note that the size is 151. I'm going to take it out, and suddenly it is 525.5. And now we're going to shrink the group back down to one size, and then we're going to drag and drop the cube back into the group. And it's this, and it's the same size. So note that scale is relative to the parent of the object. So that makes groups pretty useful for if you simply want to make something double the size, put what you want into a group, and then, put it into a group, and then you can just double the size and double the scale, and then you can take it outside of a group, and then you have the enlarged product, which can be pretty handy sometimes. So another use for groups is as pivot points. So in core you can't really change a pivot point, but with groups you kind of can use that to your advantage. So at the moment our group's pivot point is in the center of these objects. We just did that by moving the cubes so that the pivot point is in the center. And then if we move it / rotate it, it'll pivot around this point. But say that we don't want it to just pivot around the center, we're going to move these cubes over by that much. And now if we rotate it, the group's kind of the same, but it's rotating differently. If that makes sense. If you guys have any pivot questions, feel free to let me know in the comments below. I'm not really entirely sure what more to explain with pivots. So now we're going to move on to a bit more about creating a group and what you can do. So if you just select an empty piece of hierarchy and press New Group, it's going to appear at the very bottom of the hierarchy. That might be what you want, but if you right-click with something selected and make New Group, it'll appear as a child of that main group that you selected. And it will also appear with the position zeroed out relative to the parent and all of that stuff, which can be more handy than it just appearing at the bottom of the hierarchy. And additionally, there is also create new group containing this. So if you select, say, these two cubes, and then you right-click and go new group containing these, it'll create a group with those objects underneath it as a child. But the position is averaged between them. So we have the right cube here, left cube here. It didn't pick just one of them. It found the position in the middle, which is extremely helpful for symmetric groups and symmetric builds. One final thing about groups, if you select an object / group, right-click and press Count Objects under Selected Object, it will actually show up with a number of how many objects are underneath that selected object or group. But it also counts groups. So for instance, we don't actually have an object underneath this group, but it still pops up as one non-networked object. That's just something to keep in mind when using the object count, is that it will also include groups. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Do 10 push-ups and a couple of star jumps as well. I shall catch you in the next video. Arkpoint out.